Daylight come in, I want to podcast home. That didn't come out right. I am your host Soli, and here I am with Project Therapy TV's Polly.
Oh,
He wants a cracker.
hey.
Polly want a
Yep.
cracker. We've been meaning to get back together for a while and podcast another topic, and we just started bringing up some other horror Giallo filmmakers, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it, yeah, totally. I will take you up on that. Let's cover them. I've had a list of these other Giallo guys, but I didn't know when I was going to get to them, and it's a busy time of the end of this year, and I was like, sure, let's get it. Let's do both the Bavas, Lamberto and his famous father Mario. So
Yeah.
they're just both very inspiring Italian filmmakers, and in this case, Mario Bava was the father of the painter turned cinematographer Ugino, who done various silent epics, and Mario was known for a lot of that same kind of deal, just uh, coming in and helping do second unit and being the movie rescuer for various westerns, adventure films, gothic dramas, and he became his own kind of cult guy, including Rabid Dogs, which was another movie that was kind of a long lost movie. He passed away from a heart attack in 1980, and was also known for being an effects artist and making use of photography tricks, including helping out Dario Argento on Inferno. Thus, he launched his son Lamberto, and Lamberto's interesting because he was basically active from 74 until around 06, and he kind of did just more creature features, and just helped out on the Demons franchise, with including the various unofficial sequels, as well as other movies like Pirates Blood Brothers, Body Puzzle, Blast Fighter, and of course the infamous Devilfish, and A Blade in the Dark, and even acting in some of Argento's movies like Tenebrae. Uh, how did you get into a lot of these colorful, this family's colorful filmography?
Um, Late night television. Lots of
Oh,
video
sweet.
store.
A lot of the creature features and antenna channels. Got it. Okay.
Well, it was
Svengoolie.
Roberto was Demons. I
Okay.
found that cover at the video store and didn't know anything about it back then. Didn't know who directed them, but I fell in love with the movie Demons, and then found Demons 2. And then locally we had a late night TV guy, and it would run old stuff, and that's when I found Black Sunday and Black Sabbath. or and I started figuring, and then jumped a bunch of years, and then I found out, oh, this is Mario Bava, this is this guy, and Lamberto Bava, and I was like, oh, and I put it together, father and son.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never thought about it as younger,
Yeah, I
and
didn't
then
think they were related either. I just thought, oh, it's just a common Italian name, and Liberto, he's surprisingly, I thought when he made something like Blast Fighter and then, Devilfish, which is a Mystery Science Theater favorite, and then just a bunch of these others, I was like, oh, is he like the Bronx Warriors guy, Enzo G, Castellini, or Lucio Fulci, or some of the other Argento imitators? Is like, well, yes and no. The difference between Fulci and some of the other guys is, they didn't have to, you know, do zombie movies and knockoff movies, and then let's do a Conan type gladiator movie. Let's do a fight to the death, futuristic rom. Then let's do another haunted house movie. And then let's do a shark movie, a hardcore porn movie, and then a zombie film, and then sometimes mix that all together because you got to eat. You got to eat.
yep.
They're surprisingly not even like the. At first, when I thought looking at Lamberto, he was going to be like the Troll 2 guy who, tried doing infamous movies in America to no avail, like, say Troll 2, and then go back to Italy, and it's like, nope, surprisingly not like that either. Not like a guy who's like spoke no English and then had to work on it international productions. He just kind of was much like uh Mario was kind of just working on all kinds of movies, and then just was known for being the helper. Lamberto was kind of doing that. He's helping out his dad and then doing his own thing when he got a chance. And it's just so rare, like you say. It's just a very calming, and it's just kind of cool because it is just funny when you see some of the other Giallo guys talked about in interviews. Some of them are just hated by critics, and some of them have found their loyal cult audience, and some of them have almost been kind of like a Hitchcock Kubrick level where everyone's like they're a nice guy, but man, they got some pretty morbid material in their in their canon. Or I didn't know if I couldn't tell if they were sociopaths or not because they're just so focused in those long hours on creating dread, those gory effects.
Yeah, there's a fine line between genius and insanity. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think Fulci was a psycho. It just seemed like people would just, he made his impact because people would see an exploding eye, or just, the female lead of the movie gets her head chopped off in like the first frame. So it's just, I just want to be
with a lot of these Italian guys, I discovered them, by accident. Just
Joe
like any kid
D'Amato
that
was
grew up
one.
in, yeah, Diodato, because you had Cannibal Holocaust, and you had Beyond
The Holocaust
movies,
guys.
you
Yeah.
got House by the Cemetery, you
Yeah.
got
Some of them are basically the same movie, or they would film them literally back to back. That was part of the deal, so it only made sense. Use the same actors, use the same props and locations while you got it, and then run like hell. And they were just
it's the
midnight movies.
Well, they call it the Corman method.
The Corman method, heavily inspiring American filmmakers like Brian De Palma for sure.
Well, going back with movies, okay, Planet of the Vampires, one of my favorite Marvel. That if that movie didn't exist, there would be no Alien franchise.
Yeah. People often just say, "Oh, it was Jaws in space," or "It was a Forbidden Planet 2001 take." I'm like, yeah, but that's putting it lightly. Like, someone definitely saw some of these other creature features that were around at that time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we had these guys, Italians, went backwards and started filming the Conan knockoff movies, which are the sword and sorcery ones, and people go, "Oh, they took that from." I'm like, but the thing is there was so many of these movies coming out of Italy back in the day that inspired the Americans, so that the Italians could rip them off again later. Because we had all the sand and sandals,
sword and
movies.
sandals,
So you had your Hercules
sorcery,
and stuff. Yeah, all that stuff started out. A lot of that stuff started out in Italy, and
it
came to America, and that's how we got. Yeah, so and I say that, and literally we're talking about that. I have Deathstalker 3 poster right here, and Swords of the Barbarian movie poster here.
I see it now. So, oh my god.
That's there. And then over there is Hellboy, Deadly Blessings, and Prom Night 3.
Oh man. You are going to town here. That's nice.
Yeah. It's I'm moving them that way because this right here is a bar, supposed to be a bar, and it is a catch-all for comic boxes now, as we can see.
That's great. Well, and it's just really fun to find posters for even the rare movies, because some of them, have not been unopened since they left whatever theater or auction that they were at.
Oh yeah. Well, I have a good friend, and he hooks me up with movie posters, and there it is. This one. Yeah. See, I like dumb stuff. like really bad.
Oh shit.
It is Blood Beach.
Blood Beach.
Yes. I have Eliminators. You remember Eliminators?
I do. I do remember Eliminators, the 1986 full moon.
Yep.
Man.
It was eclipse. It wasn't full moon yet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Before Empire.
Tentacles. Talk about Jaws knockoff.
Oh, man.
And sorry, hold on a second. Well, there we go. This is the one I was actually looking for. But you talk about finding old movie posters.
A night of pleasure becomes a night of terror. The Tower of Evil.
Yep.
Green goofy place. That's nice.
But everybody inspires everybody. So, we got the Italians making knockoffs of movies that they made to begin with to make them knockoffs.
Oh, yeah. And basically, it's like, I'll take your idea of a ripoff idea, or, and that's why people like Joe Dante, got his deal working for Spielberg and Chris Columbus on Gremlins, because it's like, it wasn't The Howling, it was Spielberg saw Piranha, and he's like, you're the most crafty of all the knockoff movies. You really do have a fun heart and soul. Oh, man. But yeah,
the funny part about it is I really got into the Bava films because of doing conventions, and I was almost always set up next to the bootleg guy. So all the bootleg VHS tapes of movies that you couldn't find in the United States, and I'd sit there and hang out, sit next to him, and watch these movies. And holy crap! It's where I discovered Planet of the Vampires, because you couldn't find that for a long time.
No,
and
wasn't likely to be found either.
I fell in love with that movie, and this is what's funny. Two of my go-to movies that I can watch anytime, if they're on, I will watch them: Planet of the Vampires and Demons. And I had no clue up until I don't know, X amount of years ago, they were father and son. Never thought about it. But they've been since Demons since the the mid '80s, and Planet of the Vampire from about '92. So they've just been, and literally, I just rewatched both of them, not because of doing this show, but just because they were on TV. And I just like, oh, okay, cool. We'll just leave those there.
Take your eyes off it, yeah. And they're just all kind of. What do you think about their styles? And just have they kind of evolved a bit, or they just kind of just got lost?
I think Lamberto was a victim of his own, just averageness. He could shoot a good movie, and he started out with Demons, stuff like that, which he did really good. But other movies, he tried to stay safe. Does that make sense? Like the horror he could go crazy with, but when he did other stuff, he kind of like, until he finally just worked his way out of, just keeping it safe, I guess.
No, that's fine. And just Mario was kind of he was at the right time where he was basically just trying out new things, and again, doing back when effects were not CGI or always animated. He's just like, here's how to slow down film and do this kind of an effect, changes out the lightings, and Lamberto was just kind of just on the side. Just it's kind of what Brandon Cronenberg's kind of doing with his father David.
Oh yeah. Well, I tell you, watching Black Sunday, that whole thing I think is a perfect shot. Everything works because that still sets with me, and that'll be a movie that I love and will remember forever. Is when they put the mask on and the guy takes that big hammer. That was insane. That was in the mid '60s. That was unheard of, and the blood and everything. I don't know. It was, like I said, it's one of the scenes, super well directed. uh well, edited everything, and
Mm-hmm.
I love it to this day. It works. I've seen that movie 60 times, and it still gets me wham. I think that's, if it gets you every time you watch it, no matter how many times you watch it, I think that's just a hallmark of a perfect scene, I guess.
Yeah, totally. And we gotta applaud, them for all just doing their best, with whatever they had, and
Yeah.
it just seems like half the time we'll just, like you say, they'll have like a few. Some of these guys had like a few hits, uh, you know, on their character, but then, uh, they aren't able to follow it up or got, they put. I hate to compare it to Time Was So, but they did have some movies that were trashy that were, you know, got famous by accident, and then they just couldn't keep up with it. I kind of feel that, hot take with Just Franco, where you're just kind of watching his movies because it's like, what the hell am I watching? I see a lot of people defend him. They're just like, because he worked with Orson Welles that one time on Don Quixote. I'm like, I don't know, man.
Well, it's one of the ones where people, and I see it till this day. You'll go to the and it'll be like, you know, this guy worked with this guy, so look at this movie, and that's what we're expecting out of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, it doesn't necessarily work that way, you know. Yeah, you
Not
can get those
really, yeah.
guys who can, basically cut and paste movies, and from direct, if they've set with this director, they can get it. I think that and then there's other ones who can sit next to a director for their entire life and never
They're
pick up
not
on
taking
anything
notes.
because they just Mhm.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the learning tree. So that'd be something, man. Could you imagine? I mean, being Lamberto, getting into movies, and your dad's Mario Bava, and
How do you get back from
that
that?
wasn't
Yeah.
huge over here yet, but man, that was huge in Italy. And you look, and he went through the from the bottom up to making movies.
Yeah, he earned it
So
fair and square. There
yep,
was no film school even at that time. Man, and
yeah,
to just, like you say, just kind of go with the punches,
yeah.
just say,
It,
I'm ready for it. I can do this.
well, what I think's funny is that you were talking about at the beginning of the episode. Mario was the guy who, when like they couldn't get something done, he got it. If you
You
look,
got it.
he's listed as all these people. He filled in as John Old, and then Lamberto was doing the same thing, and he was doing it as John Old Jr., coming in and finishing movies that other people couldn't do.
And
They should have just continued to be John Old, and then if Lamberto had a kid that came into films, he should have stayed John Old and just kept it going. That it was the same guy, so you'd be like 150, yeah, John Old. It'd be like
totally.
the Alan Smithy.
Yeah, basically, yeah. If it were Smithy and then Smithy Jr. and then, oh
It's,
man,
but the
I,
you know what's bad about it is that I was talking about this the other day with a friend of mine at the shop. You know, here in we didn't get we got Italian movies. We didn't know they were Italian because they were all, dubbed in English. And then when we started getting some of this stuff back, but with the original Italian,
it
which
was
they
mind
changed. I
blowing
can't
for the
say that with the
longest time.
Lamberto stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because that's filmed with nothing, and then everything's put in later. But the early Italian movies, that was, and I remember watching Mask of the Devil, which is, and it's the Italian, and I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm like, kind of like it better with the Italian.
yeah, and it stinks because sometimes it can be kind of like a early Hong Kong cinema where you're just like, hey, I mean, The dubbing's kind of making it more campy and fun, and there's other times like, yeah, no, stop. I need to actually just watch it uncut.
When you get some of these Italian films back in the day, you had 20 people on screen and 3 people doing voices. You had the one woman doing the voice and maybe a couple guys for the entire movie, so everybody sounded the same. And you
Oh man. I didn't realize Lamberto Bava also, he had a son named Roy who helped him shoot additional footage and was
oh yeah, he did that one. Yeah.
they helped because there is a psycho thriller that many have come to like, but wasn't literally released until '97. It was shot in '74, and then the finances fell through, and then it got sat on the shelf until the actress Leah Launder saved it and helped. They helped Anchor Bay, which was it owns stars and helps with a lot of just long lost movies, and they released a producer's cut. It was Alfredo Leone, no relation, and then the Bava cut, and then Lamberto, the son, had to basically in 2002 say, I'm going to screen a way more, just like using the elements we got and using a proper music score that I would have used, and I'm sure my dad would have loved. This is how we're going to complete this movie finally, and just make it, complete. And it's just so unusual because it's like, what do you call a movie like this when it's technically been partial? It's kind of like in the Valley of the Wind, it's like it's technically been done all these years, but it's just now coming out. So is it is it a movie that was made in the '70s or a movie made now based on
Well, I can't remember who did it, but they did a movie for over, was it 10, 12 years? And I'm like, how would you do that? Well, they come in, they film for like a week. Once a year, they get the entire cast together, and it progressed. And it's a relatively big cast. I mean, I think it's like Ethan Hawke and
oh, Boyhood.
Yeah, boy, yeah. I was like, when did that movie get 12 years difference in the same movie?
And how they had to keep hush hush, like don't say anything,
Yep.
don't go on a talk show, don't say we're working on this. Just so meta at times.
That's one thing with the movies that I grew up on that I didn't know, like I said, were Lamberto, were Mario. It's because I knew American directors, and I knew Argento. Argento was about the only one I knew when I was a kid. Once I got a bit older and I started, appreciating movies more and whatnot, I started. Then I started finding out who Mario Bava. Really, dog?
Hey, puppy pup. He's a big fan.
Come on, let's go. What do you want? Come on, let's
go. We've just been interrupted, ladies and gents, by just the number one fan. All together, it's just been a fun. Still, he wants to get back in. He really does. He wants back in. Can't be here, buddy. We got a show to record. Anywho, this is just one of a kind of chat.
We'll return after these messages.
Hello and welcome to Culture Shocked, the pop culture podcast brought to you by 4 aging millennials and our outdated opinions. Join us every Tuesday as we discuss movies, TV, games, and even music, new and old.
Dude, what do you think you're doing?
Are you seriously trying to record a promo without us right now?
Well, yeah?
Dude, you can't just do the promo by yourself. Who's gonna listen to that?
Yeah, and you probably haven't even told them that we're a pop culture podcast where we always agree on everything. For instance, the Sam Raimi trilogy easily being the best of the Spider-Man movies.
No. But I think we can all agree that Jaws is a classical masterpiece.
Nope, don't like that. But we do all agree that the sequel trilogy of Star Wars is the best in the Skywalker saga, right, guys?
That comment is so ridiculous. I don't even know where to begin.
Anyways, that'll do it from all of us here at Culture Shock. Thanks for listening.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, "Give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win." On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and booty debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
Do you ever find yourself thinking about who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman? Hi, I'm James Gavsey, and on the Who Would Win show, me and my co-host Ray ignore anything important happening in the outside world and debate fictional battles between characters from comics, movies, and video games.
We got a new show every week, and almost always am I the winner.
Yeah, not true, Ray.
In the past, we've discussed such matches as Captain America versus Darth Vader, Solid Snake versus the Iron Giant, classic matchups like RoboCop versus Terminator, and even the Muppets versus Sesame Street.
That one was crazy. So if you're a fan of geek culture and love a spirited debate, check out the Who Would Win show wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out at whowouldwinshow.com.
We let things pile up in the DVR, we add them to our queues, we wait for the DVDs and Blu-rays. We time shift. The Time Shifters Podcast. Sci-fi, horror, fantasy, superheroes, comedy, action, film, television, maybe some not-so-current events. Find us on iTunes or at timeshifterspodcast.com.
Cool thing about Blind Knowledge is we are in multiple countries. We are worldwide all across the globe. We are in the US. We are in the UK. We are in Canada, Germany, India, Japan. We're in Australia, y'all. BlindKnowledge.com. Now back to the feature presentation.
Sorry about that. I just let the dog out before we started.
He's back. He's back. He just came back.
No, there's the other dog, and there's the other cat.
How many dogs do you got in there?
Got 2 dogs, 2 cats.
Yeah, nice.
The big one is my wife's dog. Mine's the corgi, and she doesn't bark. She doesn't make no noise. She makes little grunting pig noises. She's like, "Rum, rum, rum, rum." That's all we get.
Oh man.
Okay.
Have you seen the Rabid Dogs remake that came out in 2015? It seemed like it had some solid reviews.
No, I did not. I had to go check it out. I didn't know that was a thing.
I think it was remade in like France or something, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, the reason these guys, I think, get caught up in just being long lost cult filmmakers is because it is kind of just a fun surprise. You don't know what you're going to get, and you welcome it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think people get the experience. Yeah, you can scroll through, and I always talk about the video store experience.
Yep.
I grew up, and I remember working my way through the horror section. Didn't matter what the next movie was, you rented it. It could be good, could be bad. That's how I discovered almost every Italian film I ever watched back when I was young. That's how I discovered Gates of Hell. That's how I discovered The Beyond, Cemetery by, House by the Cemetery. All those, just going through the thing. That's how I discovered Demons. That's how I discovered Demons 2. And it just kept, going. Yeah, you can kind of do that now.
Right.
And I wish the one thing I wish I could do is I wish I could just go through and be like, okay, I want Italian knockoff movies. Put it into the thing and be like, okay, here you go. Oh man, I'm not gonna
hard man in difficult times.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing is Lamberto should have sued the Sharktopus because he did that years ago with Devilfish.
Yeah, he might as well have. And Roger Corman has money, so. Apparently, parts of the soundtrack for Rabid Dogs was used in Tentacles, believe it or not. So,
get the
I'm
tentacle.
telling you, man, they love some of that synced music and orchestras.
Oh man, dude, I'm a synthwave guy, metal and synthwave.
Good stuff.
Oh yeah, well it's funny because let me see here. We're sitting here talking about directors and all that stuff like that. I mean, I got Phenomenon, I've got Inferno, I've got Suspiria, all on vinyl. That's
Man.
what I do. There it is. There it is. There it is.
Hey, there's a sexy record. Is it even opened?
Yeah. Nope.
You haven't even no.
Still brand new seal.
You're waiting to open it.
Yeah, it's one of them ones where I was going to go listen to it, but I got a couple other albums a couple days ago that
waiting for the right
company
time.
I get from. Yeah, they send them and they're not sealed. They're always in these type of bags. So I if they're easier to open, I open them, and then the other ones, I actually have to take the effort to cut them open and slide it out. So, what how did you discover the Italian directors and like Mario Bava and them?
I was always hearing about the Argento types, and I watched a bunch of other just crazy spaghetti westerns and cult movies, and just about all of them, even the actors themselves would star in international productions. So there's just no way around it. You're just like Hong Kong movies, you're going to check out some Italian cinema. And, sometimes there'd be detractors. You'd see people come up to you, oh, it's so bad, but you got to see it. And it's like, I welcome it. I welcome this whole not knowing what it's going to be like, until you take the plunge, and you can even defend yourself. I think even before people were having to defend, so bad it's good, or it's actually a decent movie despite its mediocre score on all the websites, is just you took the plunge. You just had to say, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that incoherent. It wasn't that cheesy. It was decent or simple B picture, and I think a lot of us have just kind of had to just come out of the woodwork. Now it's cool as all get out. People love finding long lost movies that they can now see with a complete eye. And I think, like you say, but Mario Bava was often referenced, and I unfortunately didn't see as much of his movies, but I've always been, reaching out and going about, and, he's not hard to find either. There's just about all kinds of people who were able to find his easy to afford movies, and you kind of just go from there. Like you say, you just say, hey, well, I mean, and and better that than just leaving a dead, not to be a pun, leave the dead dog be. You want to,
yeah,
and Italians filmmakers definitely would often have just way more just diverse films, because you would have again just so many movies that you could easily mistake for another movie that was similar, that had like bloopers or outtakes that became that movie. And but yet, like you say, you're still seeing creativity. You're seeing all kinds of just different ways they create an atmosphere, they create a universe. And sometimes it makes me even wonder if David Lynch watched a bunch of their movies on repeat. He said, I'm going to make it even more claustrophobic, even more just out there.
That's one thing I've always had to explain to people, because I have, you have horror fans who just like horror across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got people who go, I'm a horror fan. It's only slashers. It's your Michael Myers, your Jasons, your Freddy's. And I have friends that, no problem. If you like that stuff, I like it. Don't get me wrong. But I love Italian horror films. I like the just sometimes just insanity in them. They're, never some of them don't make a lick of sense, whatever.
They really don't. It's all about the tricks and the visual cues.
Yeah, I mean, I love Phenomenon. Suspiria, Inferno, you know, all those. And one of the ones I really like, House by the Cemetery. For years, that was always out of order. So when they processed it from film to VHS to release it on VHS, I think reel 1, or was it 2, 3, and 4, 2 and 3 got swapped. And people didn't notice because the movie was already insane.
Yeah.
So the fact that how could you do that? And people, but I love the insanity of it, because to be honest, you have to, as crazy it is, you have to think harder to figure out something that has that's already crazy.
It's becoming denser by the minute.
Yeah. The movie Inferno.
Yeah.
For no reason, right in the middle of the movie, that girl has to fight it like a necromancer. That has nothing to do with the rest of the movie.
It really doesn't. And it seems like I don't even think you could teach any of these movies in a screenwriting class. But I think even any esteemed film guru can probably say, they know how to break the rules because they know what they're doing. They're deliberately going there, as opposed, you can't say they're unorganized compared to other filmmakers who literally are making it up as they go along. And you can tell, it's just you're explaining versus showing, and they kind of get away with it because they're not only showing, but that they've already disturbed you and made you uncomfortable. So now it's anything goes at this rate. And some of them, unfortunately, do end up becoming it's like, I don't know what the fuck I just watched or how to feel, but I might have to watch it again. And others are going to say, I'm good. And some of them I could sometimes feel like were cheap, but it's like, I'll let you have it because you're a trickster. You're a magician. You're kind of a lot of these Giallo guys. I mean, it is kind of like noir where you got to be tricky, even though you're inevitably just showing the same kind of deal of corruption and a character study and how you're generating suspense through all these other kind of just black and white close-ups. And I think Giallo is much of the same deal where it's like, what you signed up for, guys. So I don't see the point of bitching.
Well, oh my God. The one thing I think is weird with Italian horror films, kind of across the board, is the slight dreaminess of so many of them.
It's a total acid nightmare fuel. Yeah. A lot of them.
And to be honest, a lot of them, I think the reason they don't quite make sense is because they're dreamy. Because your dreams don't quite make sense. And I went back and was rewatching some Kill Baby Kill the other day, and then I went back and I watched the Mario stuff, and then the next night I watched Lamberto. And there's almost always a haze around the outside edges of everything. And
very hazy. Yep.
Yeah, and it adds to the dreamy uneasiness of everything. That's why the music's always, different from what the norm is, musical score wise. And when you sit down, it was like I'm sitting there watching, and then I start watching other ones. I went all the way over here to I watched them Argento, and I don't want to butcher the names, so I'm not.
That guy who's really good.
Yeah, and I'm like watching them, and almost every one of them has what I call a haze around the outside, and it's maybe not visible in all the scenes, maybe not, of course not the outside and whatnot, but when it does, you see that kind of, I don't know. For me, how it could be something stupid is that's just cheap cameras from Italy that make that like haze around the outside. But like I said, I started noticing it in so many of them. It doesn't matter if it was a barbarian film or a Western. And I'm like, dude, is that how the Italians work it? It's a dream that you're watching? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm rambling because
I know what you mean. It is kind of hard to describe it, and it's unfortunately very kind of like when you mentioned some of the to fans of martial arts and just cheesy B pictures, they'll be like, "Whoa, what kind of filter you're watching?" It's the same deal if you're talking about erotica or even superheroes or anything. You don't want to ask to be invited because anyone should be able to talk about anything, but you want to make sure you're talking to the right crowd instead of people who you clearly lost within a minute of talking about this with. And I was I think spaghetti westerns were kind of the intro, and then definitely what followed. Argento was like the best known. He was the one who kind of made it cool and was the most successful internationally and recognized, and all the other ones just kind of word of mouth because VHS and DVD distributors were the worst at, much like with Hong Kong films, of just packaging the same stuff under different names. And you're like, fuck, I already saw that movie 7 months ago under a different title on cable, or like you say, on a bootleg, much like some of the anime. You just were not able to find a release. And fortunately, they're kind of doing it now where you can tell the people who are putting it together, it's like, hey, you're a reviewer. Can we have you do a commentary track? Could we have you review a screener? Could we have you promote this movie? Or, hey, it's on YouTube. Clearly, there's a market for this movie. Oh man,
it's crazy. It's
tough to explain. Definitely.
Oh yeah, it's and what caught me was I watched the Sword and Sorcery movie Conquest recently.
Yes.
And it was one of them ones where I'm like, and then I watched a horror movie and then a sci-fi movie, and I'm like, and then I watched one of them like post-apocalyptic. I think I watched Bronx Warrior.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
gotta love it.
And I'm looking at this stuff and I'm like, is it the process? Because I'm like, first thing is I'm like, maybe it's not supposed to look like that. It's just cheap
different
celluloid
remaster,
degradation.
Or maybe it is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I kind of was like, okay, well maybe, and then I kept noticing it, and I'm like, that cannot be, bad. I was like, is it his choice? But did every Italian director ever go, hey guys, let's put a haze around the outside of this way people know it's Italian?
And now these Blu-ray remasters are giving a different take on it, because now we're seeing things we otherwise would not have seen unless we were in a theater or driving back in the day. Who knows? Maybe we
brought this up. I think there's certain movies, the quality of the movie, like the processing to go Blu-ray, DVD, blah blah, should stop. I love my Godzilla movies, love them.
Yeah,
those early ones should never go above DVD quality.
Yeah.
Because you see all the imperfections. You see the strings hanging from the ceiling as soon as you get the Blu-ray.
And we're getting snobs who will refuse to see it unless it's on Blu-ray. I'm like, then kiss most of the filmography goodbye. You can't expect everything to be released to the highest standard. DVD's never going to go away. There's always going to be a gas station, blue collar example of, and every TV show is pretty much released on only digital or DVD, unless it's a very acclaimed show and they can justify making special features. Then they're going to come out with a Blu-ray, but it's ultimately the same version of it. The only way you want to probably get a Blu-ray of it is if it's a remastered show from years ago and they actually do have all the elements, but that's pretty minuscule. And same deal, like some of these Hong Kong movies will never get a Blu-ray remaster. They're just too rare, and maybe they don't have the license to recreate them, and I don't mind it. I love finding some obscure media Asia and just other 80s, 90s, and 2000s movies that were just very intriguing and have some of our now, household names. But yeah, you're right. People limit themselves. I get tired of all the clickbait stuff. Could you believe these idiots shot this? And it's like, no one saw this airplane or realized that the sound effects sounded like a mixture of a angry dog mixed in with a car explosion.
Oh yeah.
It does affect the sound. It does affect all this other stuff. And then, like you say, sometimes they might even just be making it worse. You gotta find different versions.
Yeah. Well, I'm a physical media guy. I still have VHS tapes.
Yeah, some of them are
some of that
just
stuff.
fun.
Yeah, and some of that stuff still never seen the light of day on a DVD. And
Yeah.
I have it on. I have a Laserdisc player, and I have the VCDs. I have a
Those are always fun.
Spectrovision things.
Yes,
Yeah.
I got one.
But yeah, I'm the worst part about it is mine stopped working, so I've got a bunch of movies and no way to watch them, even though I have versions of them. But there's movies that I have on Laserdisc that is the best version of that movie that exists.
It's probably still is. It makes you wonder if the Laserdisc company went out of default and they sold away the so-called acids and they haven't remastered said acids. But yeah, it's just frightening because you're like, what happens if some of these movies literally disappear? We never see them again.
Oh, that's one thing I am glad a bit about, because to be honest, I thought a lot of these movies, who would ever thought somebody would jump on Demons, back when I was a kid, because I had a VHS copy forever. And and then I
word of
remember
mouth movie too that you would get at a video store sell.
It's oh my god. See, that's another thing is people don't realize that so many of those movies, that's as far as they went. VHS, they were on a shelf in a video store, and no one thought, you know what, we should pick that up, make a little bit of money off of it. There's no money in it, no one's gonna pick it up. But then occasionally you'll go in a truck stop and you'll look in a bin and you'll find like, whoa, there's 10. Holy crap! And that movie is available.
And they will often label it that as like midnight movie 10-pack. Morbid cinema. Yeah, it's midnight films. And yeah,
that's how there's more than a few Italian films that I did not think were. I was like, man, this is never going to see the light of day. And then I bought one of them like 50 packs, and there was like 3 of them on there. I was like, holy crap! Somebody actually. Like, and then like a year later, somebody finally jumped on it and was like, "Oh yeah, now we're releasing the Blu-ray special edition, cleaned up with the commentary." And I love commentary though, so I can't complain anything about that. So
it's like you're gonna have eventually 5 versions of the same movie. Yeah, 2 to rent out or loan to friends, and 1 that's like your baby. You put it on once a year.
I got lucky earlier this year. I bought a Laserdisc collection, and it had some out of print anime on and
did it have other gems like Michael Mann's The Keep?
I have that on Laserdisc.
There we go, man.
I love that movie. That's a movie that, talk about lost movies.
Yes.
There's a full another 2 hours of that movie that exists somewhere.
I want it.
Because, well, this is a stupid thing I have to explain to people. One of my favorite movies is The Keep.
Yes.
One of my favorite books is The Keep.
I got the comic
Those are
book
two vastly
recently. It's already out of print.
Yeah. These are 2 vastly different things.
Mm-hmm.
And people like, well, I know Michael Mann hated, or the, I'm like, no. They're 2 separate entities that exist in the same universe. That's what I look at it at.
Ultimately, yeah.
But I have a few laser discs. Like I said, last you can get on them. I remember having to buy laser discs because you could not get a VHS of horror movies, of those horror movies.
No. Nowhere.
And I remember getting was it God dang, the Lamberto Bava movie with Telly Savalas in it.
I think I know.
The House of Exorcism,
something like that. He did Lisa and the devil.
Lisa and the devil. Yeah,
they wanted a Exorcist type movie.
I had that on Laserdisc. Didn't have a Laserdisc player. I had a friend who would burn. I'd buy Laserdisc. He'd burn them, and then I would get a copy of it on VHS, and I have both. But I remember that was the only way you could get a lot of foreign movies, Japanese anime, Italian, all that stuff back in the early 90s.
Just funny how it all works. How it's like, and it's just word of mouth. It was just more the way to go. And you've been fortunate enough to be part of the comic book and convention scene and just see how some movies get circulated through convention panels. And that's the only way anyone knew, was like, people do adore this movie. There's not even IMDb and the internet, wasn't anywhere what it is now, where people go for a second opinion.
Yeah. It's kind of cool. I was going through my personal DVD collection, looking up all the Mario Bava and Lamberto Bava movies I have. And I know I get lazy sometimes, and if I just want to watch the movie, I don't want to have to go dig through a box to try to find my copy. So I just and I'm sitting there going, and I'm like, man, okay, holy crap, those are all streaming now. Okay, all those are all streaming now. And yeah, there's a couple that I have on DVD and whatnot that aren't streaming, but there's a couple that just aren't out there. And I think right now we're at a buffet. And yeah, some of the quality isn't the best on some of the streaming stuff, but I think if you find it, okay, because now you can go, I want to watch Mario Bava movies, and it will bring up a list of all of his movies. And yeah, you might get some duds in there because the quality isn't the best.
Why not? It's a party.
But you could burn through that, and I think if people really want to, give stuff a chance, that's the best way to do it. You can get a little bit into a movie. Okay, this one's not. Let's try another one. Then that next one might be the one that gets you, because even some of my favorite directors, if I would have discovered one of their later movies, I wouldn't have went back to them when I got older. If that would have been it, I would have been like, eh. But instead, I landed on the good one, and it's I don't know. It's one of them. I don't know how I'm trying to explain this, but back in the day, you had to go rent the movie. You got one movie, you got one chance. Now you have all these chances.
Yeah. There's no limit.
You had to make a trip. And I think when you had to go through all that to get a movie and you got a bad movie, you'd walk away from it. But now with all this going on, I think if people, okay, say you saw Lamberto's later stuff, and you're like, no, this stuff. Okay, go look through it. Find Demons, watch that. Didn't like maybe you found out Mario Bava directed the Hercules movies, and you're like, it's not for me.
Shoot,
yeah. Give that next one a chance, and he was actually, that's one thing I've discovered doing this too, was he was good at a lot. A lot of people get one genre and that's it. Mario is pretty good at a lot. he really, I guess, stood out in all of them. Maybe not, the same level on each of them, but if here's the baseline, all of them were above. And I think that was kind of cool that he was able to knock that out across the board. I don't think Lamberto was able to do that. I think he should have stuck with horror mostly, but that's just my opinion. Sorry, as I ramble.
That's fine. It's interesting how he experiments, because it's kind of more just, luck of the Irish. Just like, hey, I'm gonna try this out, see where it goes.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. There are directors, like Bava, like John Carpenter, who was able to switch genres from movie to movie, and able to make it work. That's pretty. There's not a very big lot of people that could do that. And
Yeah.
then being a guy who could swing in, and if a movie was getting behind, which a lot of people don't know, that he was the guy who would go in, and if they got behind on the movie, he's the one that got them. Dang. Sorry, I got dry throat real bad. Okay. So, he did the Westerns, he did the Hercules movies, or Atlas, or whatever. We got them different over here in America. We talked about that.
Oh goodness. All right. Well, I think as a wrap up, though, it just seems like now.
Sorry.
Okay. It seems like now we're getting to where we're just all we're comfortable now just talking about these movies that for years, we kind of had to wait for an invite, which sucked because why have to wait,
Yeah. See, I do like that with people being able to be more open, because I always talked about movie bullies, the ones who would be like, oh, these are mine.
How can you like
can't
this? Yeah.
Or you got them, they're like, you gotta like these movies, don't like those movies. Now I think a lot more people are opening up, and they're like, shit, I can enjoy all this across the board. I have friends that I'm like, I have seen every Fast and Furious movie because they're dumb fun. And I'm not gonna lie, they're dumb fun, they're popcorn movies. But I've seen them all a couple times, but Kill Baby Kill, Black Sabbath, I've watched multiple times, and it's if I can get more people, if I could hand out just make a DVD with like 4 Bava movies, it goes, go home and watch these, just hand them out to people like you would a flyer.
I mean, you might as well. I mean, yeah. But yeah, we're just having to remind people to just kind of just chill.
Yeah.
Have fun or don't. It's up to you.
I don't think if I would have cared when I was a kid that I would love what these movies now. If I would have been one of the ones who's like, oh, if it's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre Halloween movies, I only watch those, and then not giving this weird movie in a corner, Demons, a chance, you've got to do it. You've got to look past and go, hey, I really do like horror. Oh, Bava's on black and white. I don't watch black and white. Go watch black and white movies.
Please. Yeah.
Yes.
So many.
Don't go, okay, well, dude, that's I don't want to watch that. That's subtitled. No, watch it. It's subtitled. It will work better. So you have to read a movie.
Now I can't think of anyone who doesn't want to use subtitles for a movie. It just seems like, again, it just comes in waves.
My hearing isn't the best, So I use subtitles on everything.
You kind of got to half the time. Yeah.
Yep. I didn't notice that until relatively recently watching movies, and the subtitles would catch like little stuff going on at like a radio in the background or something. And then you're like, oh, so that's what they're saying. But yeah, you know, give the Italian directors a chance. Give, you know, if Argento is your lead in, go over, and the guy he learned from was Bava. So go find him. Then Bava and Argento became friends, and then we have Lamberto, and then we keep going. But
Nice.
you don't give a movie, you know, crap because okay, you know, it came out before a certain
How
time,
dare it
whatever.
be
And
different? Yeah.
Those early ones, even in the 60s, black and white, man. And again, I go to the scene with the putting the mask on and hitting it with the big hammer. That was pretty. That would not have been seen in American movies in the 60s. You know, and they pushed it, and I'm like, that's good and gory for
that kind of movie.
time. You know, they can't push it. It's like rewatching. Like I said, watching Planet of the Vampires. That's a pretty, you know, there's where his chest opens up and you got all the guts and stuff like that. And that's in the 60s too. And, you know, people talk about I'm like, man, there's some good stuff back in the 60s. Give it a chance, especially the Bava stuff.
Damn. So. Oh, man. Well, this has been a delight having you on here, and it's been neat. Yep. Just kind of just heading right into it and just having fun.
Yeah. And I am sorry I'm rambling today, but
that's kind of what we do a lot of.
In the mood, I guess.
We're all used to it.
Yeah.
And there was no shortage of fun here, so
yeah. Like I said, being able to talk about Italian movies and stuff like that with somebody who doesn't just stare at me blankly is nice. So
oh man. Well, we're ready. We're ready for this.
Yep. So but it was fun coming in on here and hanging out with you and
likewise. Gotta do this more often.
Yeah. Heck yeah. One of these days I'll have you on my show.
Okay. So, I accept your invite. Perfect.
But no, hey, whoever wants to listen, it's Group Therapy TV podcast. It's on YouTube and Podbean and all that stuff like that. You can watch my other shows at Sci Fridays every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, and Saturday Morning Serials 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. I had to knock my commercial out here.
Just wiping the floor with these ads.
Oh my God.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up